You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before.
We got something big brewing right now. Bitcoin has passed 100K. Ethereum is on its way to 3,000. Bitcoin might hit a new all-time high, all tied to a possible major trade deal that's on the table between U.S. and China.
We have always had a 2030 target, the base case in the 700 to 750,000 range, the bull case in the $1.5 million range.
Hey, what's good? It's your boy Dre La Soul here with some more crypto news and crypto wisdom for your head top. So today we got to talk about this potential God candle that could come based off of this China and U.S. deal that could be potentially on the table right now, right? So we got something big brewing right now. Bitcoin has passed 100K. Ethereum is on its way to 3,000, about to hit all-time highs. Bitcoin might hit a new all-time high. And, you know, this is all tied to a possible major trade deal that's on the table between U.S. and China. So let's break it down. Let's get to the real talk. But before we dive into that, let's talk about this week's market insights and overviews and whatnot, right? So the narrative for this week is Ethereum's Spectra upgrade, right? It went live on May 7th, which was strategic because it was the same day as the FOMC announcement, introducing features like smart accounts, raise validator limits, and increase blob capacity, and much more, right? So it's increasing the overall usability of Ethereum. People complain that Ethereum is slow, it's outdated, but at the end of the day, Ethereum is probably the most important altcoin there is because Ethereum is the mother of all these altcoins, right? Bitcoin is the granddaddy of everything, but Ethereum created the competition. It created the tokenization options with NFTs in order for people to mint things on the blockchain. It allows you to create tokens as far as ER720s and all that different stuff, right? So token standards that allow you to create tokens and create value on the Ethereum blockchain. It's also the leader in DeFi, the leader in RWA, which is real world assets, which BlackRock is always talking about. So Ethereum is the proxy for altcoins. If Ethereum dies, then we can't see other cryptocurrencies rise because there's only a few cryptocurrencies that survived the past 3 bear cycles, and that's Dogecoin, XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, right? Solana was only here for the last one. Now, you maybe could argue Cardano, but not so much, right? Now, based on that being the fact, Ethereum is the closest to commodity or digital commodity status, like Bitcoin, right? So Ethereum is the closest to that. So we can't count Ethereum out. Also, Ethereum is the only altcoin with a spot ETF at the moment. It's possible for Solana, possible for Sui and all that, but Ethereum is the only one. So it has a lot going for it, right? So don't count on Ethereum. And once Ethereum goes up, then we can see the rest of the altcoins going up, especially once the Bitcoin dominance comes down. And we'll talk about that as well. But that's one of the narratives for the week. The next narrative or insight for this week is major project updates with Chainlink. Chainlink launches Chainlink Rewards, a community program allowing Chainlink build projects to expand their reach by distributing tokens to eligible link stakers. That's pretty dope, right? So spreading the wealth, right? Essentially making it more decentralized as well. But Chainlink is a key in RWA. Chainlink is an oracle. So all the information that exists in traditional finance, real estate, all that stuff doesn't exist on the blockchain yet. They need a way to put that on the blockchain, even when it comes to like betting and making predictions and futures and all that stuff. You need information from the real world. And the oracle is like Chainlink. So they're linking the chain and the blockchain to the real world, real life events, minting it on the blockchain, making it immutable, and creating a everlasting record, essentially, right? So with that being said, Chainlink is a key player in data for DeFi, decentralized finance, specifically RWA as well. So that's pretty dope. Now, the DeFi brief, Athena launches USDE, right, on both Hyperliquid Exchange and Hyper EVM. So EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine, and that's another reason why Ethereum is dominant. Ethereum has a moat, and their moat is pretty much the fact that they have smart contracts and they could, do that for large institutions and whatnot, large entities. So they're not like the day-to-day fast trading like Solana. Solana is good for that, the meme trading, new users, retail users. Ethereum is good for like, boom, the set it and forget it, one large purchase into a particular asset and you leave it there for a minute. So less for the day-to-day interaction. That's how I see it, right? There's a place for everything in the crypto space, but Ethereum has that moat. So EVM is Ethereum Virtual Machine, and you should look into Hyperliquid. Next, meme tokens. So Elon Musk changed his X profile picture and display name to Gark. It's pretty much a parody of XAI chatbot Grok. And more news, so Doge OS, a Dogecoin-based app development platform, secures $6.9 million in funding round led by Polychain Capital. Pretty dope. And then we got some airdrops. Solana Name Service, SNS, announces an upcoming airdrop allocating 40% of its total token supply to .sol domain holders, builders, and new supporters. So if you want to build in the Web3 world, if you want to have presence in the Web3 world, having like a .eth domain name or a .sol domain name is a good idea and something I would recommend. So shout out to Solana for that. But that's it for the weekly news. So let's dive into the real topics. Let's talk about what's really buzzing in the markets right now, right? A new U.S. China trade deal might be coming soon. It's going to be a big weekend. We could possibly see ETH cross 3,000. There could be a new all-time high for Bitcoin as well. So there's some indicators. And if there's a specific indicator or specific indicators coming out of Geneva that pushes to the positive direction, with Trump's statement on 80% tariffs and all that good stuff, if we get some good news out of Geneva, it's going to be lit and the market's going to be set ablaze. You feel me?
You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before.
President of the United States is giving stocks advice. Should we be listening to him?
Yes, probably. I think he's guiding that he wants this weekend to have positive headline risk for markets. And, what people are really hoping for is we get some kind of pausing of tariffs or some kind of reduction of tariffs while negotiations are ongoing, and just some positive messages that they are on track to backtrack significantly from the threats of a month ago.
So, if we get a Zelensky moment in Geneva.
All right, so here's what's buzzing in the market right now, right? We have a new U.S. China trade deal that might be coming soon. And I said this before in one of my other videos. I said like around June, somewhat around that time frame in the summer, we'll see pictures and, negotiation talks with these guys, them shaking hands, sitting at the table together, because it's happened before. During his last term, when they had the trade war and all that good stuff, eventually they took pictures, they were smiling with each other, they cronies behind the scenes. And I said that in one of my last videos, so I'm kind of predicting it. Let's see if this prediction comes true. And if that happens, if we get a real good deal, it's going to take off. So Trump's been signaling fresh tariff negotiations, right? That could ease tensions between the two countries. Hopefully that happens. Now, it might not sound like crypto news, right? But technically it is. It absolutely is, right? And because when global markets feel stability coming, when big power start playing nice, right? That money starts moving into risk assets, i.e., you guessed it, crypto. So we're already seeing sentiment shift. Speculators are calling for a massive Bitcoin breakout, and Ethereum is already dancing around 2,500, right? Some are whispering 3K for ETH this weekend. So it boils down to this. Who is in a stronger position to negotiate? That's what it boils down to, right? If you look at the deal with UK, the US is pretty much giving guidance like, yo, we have the UK in our pocket. It could possibly be Canada and South America, and maybe even other countries like India.
harking back to the Oval Office, what happens to the market then?
I think actually the sound bites out of the weekend are less important than what they practically decide to do on tariffs for the negotiation period. So, and that'll happen no matter what the sound bites are. And because Trump is promising something good this weekend, there's a high likelihood we get some action like that. And if we don't, the market will be devastated on Monday because market expectations are very optimistic for something positive to come out of the weekend.
There could be some reduction that could come out. I mean, the situation is dire as trade is completely frozen up. It could be that there are gradual reductions on both sides in parallel, one after the other. That could happen as well. There's been a lot of political rhetoric about how tough both sides are going to be. But both sides in trade negotiations have a long history of turning on a dime.
Who, in your mind, really has the leverage when it comes to these discussions?
Well, your first question, Trump is unique. He sees himself as a wheeler and dealer that can make deals off the cuff. That's not how trade deals are made. Trade deals are made after long negotiations and leaders then bless them. So we're in a different realm here. In terms of who has the upper hand, I think you need to ignore a lot of the rhetoric about how tough they're going to be. That is rhetoric for domestic audiences, I think. I think both of them need each other. We are now at the point where the rhetoric is over and reality is setting in, and orders are being canceled, people are being laid off, ships are not sailing. So there's an imperative on both sides to do something. And I think that both sides are pragmatic enough if they can get beyond all of the political rhetoric to get something done for their people.
Definitely agree with what he said around China and the U.S. Needing each other, right? And they just need to give it a little. Both just need to give a little. U.S. gives a little here, China gives a little there, and they get to a meeting point eventually where they both feel like they won because they both got something out the deal, right? So if Trump feels like he won, if Xi Jinping feels like he won, then, you know, a good deal will happen and that will set the markets ablaze. And that's what we need, right? And I'm predicting that it's going to happen. Let's get into the weeds and talk about the tariffs, right? So tariffs are basically taxes on imported goods, right? And when the U.S. puts pressure on China with tariffs, guess who feels it? Sometimes not China, but us, you know, the American consumers, because we consume a lot. So the same way we need them is the same way they need us, right? Now, if Trump can finesse a deal that removes or balances those tariffs, it could do three things, right? Boost investors' confidence, you know, open more trade lanes, and kick off a global market rally. And China and Russia are already getting ready to dump money into the market. The U.S. is going to eventually stop QT, and eventually money will pour into the market. And we need liquidity. Liquidity is what's really going to pump the bags. And when traditional markets breathe easy, you know, that makes it easier for Bitcoin and Ethereum to inhale deeply. And then boom, we see God candles and they just start to explode and we get pops on the charts like crazy. All right. Those massive green spikes that make traders like just go crazy, right? And lose their mind. You see it all the time. Right? So here's what you need to watch for this weekend, right? If positive updates come out of those trade talks, we could see ETH shoot past 3K and Bitcoin challenge some new all-time highs. But if the talks fall out or if new tariffs drop, we could see a rug pull on these bullish setups, right? And that would be kind of detrimental, but then that would set us up for another way up, give us a chance to get back in because the market's been ripping, yo. So if we could get Bitcoin to calm down a little bit, if we could get Bitcoin back in the 90s, and if, you know, Ethereum goes under 2,500, that would be a good time to, you know, gobble up some more as well. So this is what makes crypto exciting, right? It's the back and forth, the up and down, the roller coaster ride. It's terrifying for sure, but, you know, it's not just the charts and the technicals and all that. It has to do with global markets, global politics, geopolitical politics, macroeconomics, and the overall strategy, right? So from the bird's eye view, you feel me? Now, let's talk about leverage, strategy, and some power plays, right? The game is deeper than just China and the U.S., right? Trump's been building relationships with India, the U.K., and Canada, tightening pressure on China. And that's the game plan, right? To make it seem like they got everyone else in their pocket, you know? That might be giving the U.S. more leverage at the negotiation table, right? But remember, China is hurting too. So layoffs, supply chain issues, cancel orders, they need a win as badly as we do, right? So it needs to feel like they're winning, the Chinese is winning, and the U.S. is winning. Both sides have to come out of this looking strong. That means they need to strike a deal where both can save face, right? And that deal could, send global markets and crypto flying. And, Trump said it himself, this is a good time to start buying. You feel me?
Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before.
Talk about the tax bill, right? And we don't want to forget about that. So the U.S. tax bill is also in the works. It could include updates for crypto reporting and taxation, right? That's going to shake some trees in the industry too.
We have the details of the White House proposal. They're asking for a 39.6% tax rate on individuals making $2.5 million or more. Of course, current rate 37%. The proposal from the White House would also include a carve-out for small business owners who count the income from their business on their personal taxes. And that addressed some concerns that lawmakers had. They did not want small businesses to be penalized by a higher tax rate. Now, GOP leaders in the House, we've discussed this before. Previously, they cast doubt on this idea. They didn't think it was viable. But right now, lawmakers really need to find revenue raisers in order to pay for not just extending that 2017 tax law, but all the other things that Trump wants, like no tax on tips. And this package is going to cost a lot. The Peter G. Peterson Foundation estimated that extending the 2017 law and then giving Trump most of the items he wants could cost more than $9 trillion. And that's one of the middle of the road estimates. We've seen estimates that have gone higher. It's expected to get its first vote in the House next week on the Ways and Means panel. We're expecting that to begin Tuesday, and a lengthy markup expected to go into the night. And that will be the first hurdle that this tax bill is going to clear, but certainly not the last.
Meanwhile, ARK Invest's own Kathy Wood is still predicting Bitcoin could hit between 750K and 1.5 million by 2030, right? And that's only 5 years away. And this is all thanks to increasing institutional interest, in her opinion.
Well, we have been saying, actually, I just put out a letter talking about the rolling recession we've been in for the last 3 years since the Fed jacked up rates. We got a negative quarter in the first quarter, potentially in the second quarter as well. And I think more and more people are getting concerned about an extended recession and amid all the uncertainty. We actually think we're at the end of this rolling recession. We have always had a 2030 target, the base case in the 700 to 750,000 range, the bull case in the $1.5 million range. David Puel, our analyst and our on-chain analyst, put that piece out recently, and you can see the building blocks, how much share we expect Bitcoin to either take from gold or grow that store of value market. Institutions moving in, and they've barely moved in. We have 1 million more coins, roughly, to be minted ever, and institutions are just testing the waters right now. And then there's the emerging market use case as well. So we think we have miles to go, yes.
It does sound wild, and I don't necessarily believe that we've been in a rolling recession, but I've seen Bitcoin go from, being able to just buy pizzas to it being a 6-figure asset, right? So anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. Now, here's something else to peep. Bitcoin dominance is dropping. And normally when Bitcoin dominance drops, that means that the dominance for Ethereum goes up a little bit, and being that Ethereum is the leader of the altcoins have more room to go and explode and outperform Bitcoin as far as percentage wise, right? So that's why sometimes they say it's better to put those same funds into a smaller coin, eat off the benefits from that, and then put it into Bitcoin or put it into Solana or Ethereum. And this is not financial advice. This is just a thought process, not financial advice at all. NFA, right? But Ethereum is surging as well. And what does that mean? We might be at the front door of an altcoin season, right? So that's when the rest of the crypto market, Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, all your favorites will start ripping. I've been sitting on my alt bags for a minute. It's time to dust them off, take some profits in a few. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you about to do. But that's it for today's Crypto Rant. The weekend could be legendary. This could be a legendary weekend, a time in history, or a letdown. But either way, we We stay watching, we stay learning, and we stay stacking them sats. Make sure that you like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, turn on that notification so that you can get that alert. It's your boy Dre La Soul. Make sure you follow us everywhere at Urban Blockchain on TikTok, on Instagram. All right, and then I want to shout out to my sponsors. So we got the NFT Energy drink, right? It's a sugar-free energy drink, right? Bridging blockchain and energy, the physical and digital world. Right? Also, shout out to my sponsors, Tavare Frames. Make sure you copy some Tavares. And it's your boy Dre La Soul. We out.